What's up, everybody? I know this video is a little bit overdue as, Michigan's pretty much already hired their entire coaching staff, and it's been that way for a week, but there's just been so much news going on with the Detroit Lions, with the Goff trade, with all the coaching hires, with all the front office moves. Um, you can't just skip over that. So I finally want to get a chance to talk about the new guys that Jim Harbaugh has hired and just give you my thoughts and my overall impression of it, and I'm going to grade each one of them and evaluate them. Now, I'm not a coach, and I didn't interview these guys. Jim Harbaugh knows a lot more about these guys than I would know. So take these opinions with a grain of salt, but this is just my initial impression. And of course, we really can't see until a few years down the road. But here we go. So starting off, we got pretty much the most important position you can have on a coaching staff. That's defensive coordinator. And Michigan actually hired a couple of guys for that position, but we'll start off by talking about Mike MacDonald, the first guy who made all the headlines. So Mike MacDonald was a graduate assistant at Georgia for a few years under Mark Ritt and Todd Grantham, and actually did a phenomenal job there because in just a few years he got promoted up to the NFL. And he's only 33 years old, but he has 7 years of NFL experience. So after just 4 years of coaching in the college ranks, he moved all the way up to the NFL, which I think says a lot about him and a lot about his potential. So, and John Harbaugh is a great coach. He's a great guy to work under, and he doesn't just hire anybody off the street. This guy's definitely legit. So he was a quality control coach for the Ravens for a few years, and then he was a linebackers coach in 2017, and that's been one of Baltimore's biggest strengths, with C.J. Mosley, Matt Judon, and Patrick Queen all having great years, and the Ravens having one of the best defenses in the league, carrying that tradition of Ray Lewis. McDonald's done a tremendous job in Baltimore, and there's no question he was well qualified to be a coach at the college level, especially in a pretty high position. But unfortunately, I do have a few concerns. He has very little college experience. 4 years as a graduate assistant. You're not super involved with the football operations. I mean, you're getting a small gist of everything, but not really involved. So he's unproven there. And he's also unproven in the fact that he has never called plays. Now, this thing might be a little bit overrated. I said Aaron Glenn was a good hire for the Lions, and he's never called plays. But I'll get to why I think that's kind of a downside for him. And so overall, MacDonald, ability to develop players, NFL experience will help with recruiting, but he's never called a defensive play. He's never been at the college level. And that doesn't mean it's not going to work out. This could be great, but I give this hire a B-. I gave it a B- because I would have preferred to get someone from the college ranks that did a great job at the group of 5 level as a defensive coordinator, sort of like a guy like Kurt Maddox or Marcus Freeman from Cincinnati. I would have gotten someone like that understands the college game and has been around a while, and then, promoted them to our defensive coordinator position. Because let's face it, Michigan pays their assistants more than any other team in the United States. This should be the golden place to be an assistant coach. I think part of the issue was Jim Harbaugh not signing that extension, which I already ranted about. Not signing that extension until, in my opinion, it was too late. I think that affected our ability to get defensive coordinators and hire some of these assistants. But I don't hate this guy. I think he has great experience as an NFL coach, and his resume looks pretty good. He's only 33 years old, and sometimes that's the perfect age to start, getting into the coordinator position. So I give that one a B-. Now, let's take a look at the other guy that Michigan hired, Marcus Linguist. So Linguist will be the co-defensive coordinator with MacDonald, and I think this is a good compliment because all the experience that MacDonald doesn't have at the collegiate level, Linguist does have. So some background on Linguist. He's been a secondary coach for a very long time at the FBS ranks. So he was at James Madison for a few years. Then in 2012, he took over as a secondary coach at Buffalo. And he's been a secondary coach and a passing game coordinator for 9 years in a row, including 1 year in the NFL with the Dallas Cowboys. But his other trips include Iowa State, Mississippi State, Minnesota, Texas A&M, So he's definitely been he's been pretty much everywhere in the United States. Let's just be real. So I like the fact that he's experienced. I also like the fact that he comes from the state of Texas. And while he was at Texas A&M, he landed a lot of pretty good recruits, a lot of 5 and 4-star safeties and corners. So if we can recruit out of that area, that would be absolutely huge. We really need those guys, that can cover guys man to man, because unfortunately we just don't have those guys right now. Linguist, if he gets those guys, they could be a real difference maker and could give us a huge competitive advantage in the Big Ten. I mean, look at Ohio State. They've had unbelievable corners for this whole decade, and that's why they've been one of the best teams in the Big Ten. So Michigan's got to catch up to that level, and the only way you can do that, in my opinion, is if you go south. You get guys from the southeast and the southwest. Texas is a great place to go, so him knowing a lot of people there, I think, is great. Now, a little bit of the downside to Linguist. A lot of his defenses really struggled. So he's spent 8 years at the FBS level, and 4 of his 8 college seasons, his past defenses have finished 98th or worse. So pretty much the bottom of the barrel. A couple times at Iowa State, albeit it's when their program was kind of a mess before they hired Matt Campbell. He had a bottom defense at Texas A&M, although he did a good job the next year. And then he had an absolutely awful season with Mississippi State, which to me doesn't really make a whole lot of sense at all. But, there's always an asterisk next to all those statistics. I get it. But I'm just not 100% sure this was a highly sought-after coach. You'd think if you're going to get a prestigious position like a defensive coordinator at Michigan, where your salary is higher than a lot of head coaches at the college football level, you'd think you'd be someone that you would say, home run hire. No question about it. I mean, this guy has great experience, and he's definitely shown flashes. He had some good defenses at Buffalo, did a great job at Minnesota with the 11th ranked defense, although then again, you can take the numbers with a grain of salt. So I gave this hire a C+. Now, that doesn't mean he's going to be bad. And I could be 100% wrong on both these guys. But the point I made with MacDonald is the exact same point I'll make with this. I think you get someone who excelled at the college level, not someone who's just happened to be around. And Linguist has definitely been a leader, He's got a lot of experience coaching the secondary, and I understand why you want a secondary-like guy as a defensive coordinator, especially with how much our secondary struggled the past couple of years. And he's been a passing game coordinator, so I think automatically that makes him a better candidate than Don Brown, who only believed in man-to-man coverage and not playing zone, blitzing all the time, putting corners on an island. So this duo of MacDonald and Linguist maybe isn't too bad. I just would like to get someone more proven. I think you're the University of Michigan. You have the resources, and Jim Harbaugh knows enough guys. You can get guys that have done well at the Group of 5 level or at the Power 5 level. I just think they could have done a lot better. Then again, I could be completely wrong, and they could be absolutely great, which I hope is the case. But just based off my initial reaction, I'm not sure these were the creme de la crop. So let's go over the next guy, and I think this was the best hire on the staff. This is a name a lot of you guys should know, and that is Michael Hart. Mike Hart played here from 2003 to 2006 for you younger fans, and he ran for a career 5,000 yards. One of the best running backs in school history, and I am so excited to get him back in the maize and blue, now as a part of the coaching staff. And maybe this sounds like a little bit of, he played at Michigan, so that's the only reason you like him. Well, actually, he's done a great job as a coach too. Let me just list off some names. Stevie Scott, Jarvian Franklin, Jamari Bogan. All 3 of those guys ran for over 1,000 yards in their career. What do all those guys have in common? Well, they were coached by Michael Hart, who was the running backs coach at Eastern Michigan, Western Michigan, and now just recently Indiana. So there's no question he's very credible as a running backs coach. And another bright side about him is he has worked his way up the ranks at Indiana. He's now an assistant head coach, which tells me that they really like him, and they see him as a guy that could possibly be a head coach one day and definitely deserved a promotion within the program. So he's already credible there. Was labeled by 24/7 as a top 25 recruiter. I mean, how much better could you get? You get a guy who has been well respected by his program, a guy who has sent a lot of guys to the NFL, a lot of running backs, a guy who is well respected as a recruiter. I give this one an A plus. I I have zero problem with this hire. I think it was amazing. I think it was about time. I think we should have. This is a hire we should have made years ago. There's no reason he should have been at Indiana before Michigan, but at least he's here now. So that's definitely a good thing. So I give this one an A plus. I don't think I need to say a whole lot more. All right, this next guy was another good hire, and his name is Ron Bellamy. So those of you not really connected with the state of Michigan, Ron Bellamy was one of the best high school coaches in the entire state. Took over West Bloomfield earlier this decade. Before they were anything special, they were kind of a bottom feeder at in the state of Michigan at the Division One level, which is the highest level. But man, he did a heck of a job there. Turned them around completely, finished his career 77-40, but just last season they won the state championship. They beat the Davison Cardinals 41-0, and Bellamy just did a tremendous job there. He's produced a lot of blue chip players, most notably Donovan Edwards, who ran all over the Cardinals in that game. Bellamy was just the best high school prospect you can get, and he was hired as a wide receivers coach. And this makes sense because while he played at the University of Michigan, he was a wide receiver. He's well respected around the state, and we really need to win these in-state recruiting battles, and we just did today. We just flipped a defensive tackle from Michigan State to Michigan. He was a 4-star player, so that's absolutely huge. We need that kind of stuff to happen, and maybe Bellamy being a great recruiter had something to do with that. I'm not sure, but it'd definitely be nice to take control of Cass Tech again and a lot of the other great schools in the state. Just get those top players, and I hope this works out well. Already has a good relationship with Donovan Edwards. I don't see this guy, being toxic or doing anything bad to our program. His role is not too big. I know he doesn't have any college experience, but he's just a wide receivers coach. I give this hire an A. You basically got the best guy you could out of the state of Michigan, and this one was a no-brainer, and I'm glad he's here. And now last, but not least, the last hire for Michigan was George Hello, who's going to be the safeties coach. So some background information about Hello. He has some great ties to the Southeast. He played football at Ole Miss from 2003 to 2006. He coached under Nick Saban, Jimbo Fisher, and Mark Ritt as a graduate assistant, and rose up. He played a minor role, but he did rise up in the ranks, and eventually his biggest position was with Colorado State, where he mostly coached the secondary. Led a pretty good turnaround there as he led Colorado State to the 7th-ranked pass defense in 2019. After that, he got a position as a special teams coach and inside linebackers coach at Maryland, and unfortunately, that didn't go so well, as Maryland ranked near the bottom in many special teams categories and also had one of the worst rush defenses in college football. So that's kind of a mixed bag right there. Let me be honest with you, I gave this one a C. I know it's just a safeties coach, and again, I could be totally wrong, but I'm not too thrilled. Here's my thing. You've been at Alabama, you started your career there, then you went on to Florida State with Jimbo Fisher, then you went on to Georgia. Why would you leave those places? I mean, I know Colorado State might have given you a promotion, but if you were really that good of a coach, wouldn't you have just stayed in SEC country? Maybe I'm overthinking it a little bit, but to me, it kind of screams underwhelming. I get that he's only 34 years old, but we just saw what MacDonald has done at his 33 years, and that's really impressive. He did have a nice turnaround at Colorado State. My concern is when he got up to Maryland, he honestly really wasn't a great season. He didn't have a great season. Let me just put it as frank as possible. Not impressed with his 1 year there. Really, in all this, and where he's had a major involvement, really the only thing that's impressive to me is the Colorado State year. Other than that, I think this is a pretty underwhelming candidate. It is only the safeties coach, but I give this one a C. And again, I think we could have done a little bit better. So my overall grade for this new Hall of Hires, I gave it a B. And that's not a bad grade. My summary was not bad, but it could have been a lot better. The bright side of this is we got access to Southern recruiting with the hires of Linguist and Hello, so you get a guy from Mississippi who can recruit out of that area. You also get a guy from Texas. Those are a couple big places to go off of. You also strengthened up the Midwestern stronghold by hiring Bellamy and Hart. Bellamy has proven he can develop players. Hart has proven that he can both develop players and recruit in the Midwest. So that's definitely a good thing. The downside is all these guys are really, really young. And I don't know. I'd prefer guys that have been in the league for a few years because that's how you know how to make adjustments to defensive schemes. You know, you're pretty proven. I'm not saying we need to hire someone who's 70 years old like Mike Hankwitz, who's just retired this year from Northwestern. But I would have preferred to see some guys who have some experience, maybe that did a great job. Like, you know, Kirk Maddox doing a great job at San Diego State. I would have loved to have seen him come to Michigan to be a defensive coordinator. Maybe you get Freeman from Cincinnati. To me, they didn't really hit on the hires that I think they could have gotten. But I'm not going to say that this staff is terrible because with a little experience they have shown that they can do some good things. You know, Hart is already proven. Bellamy has proven that he can develop players. You look at MacDonald, he can develop players. That's really where I think the main focus is. It's on player development. I think that's where Jim Harbaugh feels we've been lacking a little bit. I can't say I disagree with that. You know, MacDonald and Linguist will be a different scheme from Don Brown, so maybe it's just a fresh breath of air. They're definitely not going to do all this man blitz stuff. They're going to play some zone a little bit. They're going to mix it up. It's going to be a little bit different than they'll live by the blitz, die by the blitz type defense. So I think that's definitely a good thing. I can't really get too mad about this. I don't know. I think it could have been a lot better. And I think losing Ed Warner, I don't think that's a good thing. I think he's done a tremendous job as an offensive line coach, and it's really a bummer that he had to go. It's not to me, it's not as exciting as the hires the Lions have made. I'd love to make a video about that because, man, I've got so much excitement for this new coaching staff in Detroit. I'm really excited to see where it goes. I'd love to make a video about them too, but I needed to get this one out. Is our coaching staff better than it was previously? That remains to be seen. And yet again, a lot of this remains to be seen, but this is really important for Jim Harbaugh that he got these right, because if he didn't, people are going to be calling for his head, kind of like I was last year, and some people still think he shouldn't be the coach of this football team. To me, this is your last shot. If you don't get these hires right, for next season, it's so ridiculous because it's now year 7. I can't really sit here and say I expect to go to the Big Ten championship and make the playoffs because this team next year is going to be far too young for that. While I think we have a lot of talent, I think it's very young. And you know what? At this point, I'd give him 2 years. If he doesn't win 11 games in 2 years and come within it, I feel so bad saying this, but we've gotten to this point. If in a couple of years he comes within single digits of Ohio State or beats them, you know what? Screw it. If he doesn't beat Ohio State in 2 years, he's gone. If he doesn't win at least 11 games in 2 years, if he doesn't do both those things within the next 2 years, I think Jim Harbaugh's got to go. And there will be a mass exodus of this coaching staff. So I really think this is his last chance. And, you know, the buyout's not as expensive this time. So this is his second chance. I hope Jim Harbaugh makes the most of it, but you're kind of on the hot seat. I hate to break it to you. All right, guys, thank you all for listening. I hope all these hires work amazingly. Michigan's first game next season is Western Michigan. I'm really excited for it. Let's hope everyone gets vaccinated and we can get the season going again. It'll be the first time we've played since, late November. Absolutely crazy. All right, thank you all. You have a good night.